Roll Tide. Welcome to Crimson Tide Rewind, live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, who reminds us, don't wait, vaccinate. Roll Tide, everyone. This is Roger Hoover alongside former Crimson Tide linebacker Cory Reamer, who missed last week's show in person. So you get a penalty flag left over from the Texas A&M game.
Personal flags. Personal flags going on around here. Sorry I couldn't be here. Sorry to let everybody down. We'll let everybody know next time so that they can anticipate us not being fully staffed. But I thought it went well. It sounded good to me. I was getting texts from my mom the entire time about how bad I sounded, and she was criticizing everything. So hate that I missed it, but glad to be back.
Glad you're back. Glad we get to talk about another Crimson Tide win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what it is. Every single season every single week these last two seasons, it seems like we're just like a broken record. We're just excited about being able to get the wins. It's not been in the dominant fashion that we're accustomed to, but there were a lot of good things to take away from this game. I thought we looked extremely well. We knew going into it, 11 o'clock kick. You just finished up a game against Texas A&M, which was a tough one on the road. Huge victory for this team to go on the road and get that one. And then you also got Tennessee coming in now this week, and you've got this Arkansas game and a team that's on a 5-game losing streak coming to Tuscaloosa, 11 o'clock kick. A little hangover from Texas A&M maybe, or looking forward to Tennessee. How ready and prepared was this team going to be for this game? And, they came out and started about like we expected them to. It was pretty slow early on, but they got things going in the late first quarter, and then most of the second quarter, this team looked dominant. They were doing exactly what you wanted them to. Defense was playing well, causing a lot of 3-and-outs. Offense was moving the ball with the run game, which, previously in the week before against Texas A&M, we couldn't establish the run at all. Got all 4 running backs involved in the game, and then, it was coming out in the second half. We looked like the offense was going to continue to do exactly what they did in the second quarter, and just had some sputtering moments there and just weren't able to put some points on the board. I think only 3 points in the second half. So it was a down, up, down type of game. And I think that if you're Coach Saban, it's one of the things that frustrates him the most, and what he always emphasizes is just consistency in performance. And we've had good second halves, not good first halves, and we've had up and down moments like we did this past week. And that's the thing that really gets his blood boiling is not playing on a consistent basis across, from start to finish, which is hard to do, especially given all the circumstances that we've had in the last few weeks. But this team was able to find a win. It was a tough win. We knew going into it that Arkansas was going to put up a good fight. They always do. This is a game that you can never count out, no matter what their record is. And you look at what they've done so far this season, they've given everybody they've played some pretty good fights. Even though they've lost a lot of them, most of them have been one-possession games, and they do not lay down. We said it last week that they were not going to just come in and just give up and just come into Tuscaloosa and not try hard. And KJ Jefferson is a veteran quarterback, one of the oldest in this league right now, has a lot of experience, a lot of leadership qualities, and he came in and played extremely tough. And we gave them some opportunities to continue to be in this ball game that we could have probably, ended a little bit earlier, and they took advantage of it. They got the momentum in that second half, found a way to get a couple touchdowns on the board, and had a chance to tie or take the lead in the ball game late in the fourth quarter. They were down 3 with almost 10 minutes left to play. So it was a good one. We'll take the win, and we'll move on, and now it's Tennessee week. So
certainly is. So the Crimson Tide 4-0 in the SEC. As we mentioned, Tennessee coming up. We're going to keep talking about the Arkansas win, plus what needs to happen coming up on Saturday, the 3rd Saturday in October. And we invite your phone calls if you'd like to join us on Crimson Tide Rewind tonight. Give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline at 877-202-BAMA. We're with you for the next hour, live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills with Crimson Tide Rewind. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Now the snap. Here's Milroe. Loads up long. Looks. Has a man. Wide open midfield. Taking it to the house. Kobe. Prentice. Touchdown. Alabama. 80 yards. And that's the way to recover right there.
Make sure you keep up with everything Alabama with the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app, presented by Cadence Bank. It's available at the App Store and Google Play. Download the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app now for free. And yes, 80 yards through the air, the deep ball, we love to see it.
The enthusiam in here tonight is exciting. It's like
unrivaled in college football. For a Monday night show, we love it.
We probably need a little bit more of that in the stands this Saturday to start this game off. But yeah, Kobe Prentice, that was a phenomenal drive. We took advantage of Arkansas, a lot of blown coverages in the secondary, and Jalen Milroe does what Jalen Milroe does best is throw the deep ball, and I thought he did a great job. You can tell he's progressing as a quarterback. When he's looking off safety comes down, bites down on the tight end that shuts it down about 15, 20 yards on the play, opens up the middle of the field. Kobe Prentice is running wide open, and Jalen Milroe just airs it out to him, lets him run underneath it, nobody around. Those are the best types of plays that you can see, and that really sparked the offense. So an offense that had struggled, I think it was 2 3-and-outs or 3 3-and-outs at that point. I think we had 3 possessions, hardly any movement from the offensive side of the ball leading up to that pass and turning it into a touchdown. So it was good to see. Jalen Milroe, he continues to progress. He's getting better and better each and every single week. Not turning the ball over, which was huge for this ball game, and finding a lot of plays down the field. And Jermaine Burton continues to be a weapon at wide receiver for him. He's a guy that he targets a lot. But like you've always pointed out each week is that he is spreading it around to everybody. It's not just one wide receiver that's getting involved with the game plan. It's all of them, and they're all taking advantage of it when they get opportunities. 7
receivers caught 10 passes from Milroe, 238 yards. I really like the balance Alabama played with as well. 238 yards passing, and then the rushing game, after being so limited against A&M, 177 yards on the ground.
Yeah, I think we all would have liked to see some more running game in the end of the second half to try to put that ball game away. It was balanced, but when last week the running game doesn't work very well, you turn to Jalen Milroe and let him use his arm for us to win that ball game against Texas A&M. This week was an opportunity for the running game to really be the emphasis of the ball game, and it was. I mean, we did run the ball a decent amount, and it just seemed that we kind of got away from it a little bit in that second half when it was working so well. Going into halftime, we're running, I think we had 8 plays of over 10 yards from the running backs, and all 4 of them had big plays. And we come out in the second half, and we're still doing a lot of the same things that we finished the half with and hitting big chunk yardage plays in the running game. And then from the middle of third quarter, late third quarter on, it just seemed like it wasn't as we didn't go to it as much as I think we probably could have, because we really didn't get stuffed, behind the line of scrimmage. Every time we handed the ball off, these running backs did a phenomenal job of finding the open, the hole for them to run through and then making plays in open space. One thing about running backs, and we said this multiple times on this show going into it, is it's hard when you got 4 guys who are capable like these 4 guys are, because running back is a unique position where the more a guy gets the football, the hotter he usually gets. And so when you've got 4 guys you got to spread it out between, it's kind of hard to find, who's got the hot hand or let those guys build momentum. I mean, those guys, when they come up, when they bust open for a 5-10 yard run and they're lowering their shoulder and popping some safeties or running over some linebackers, that adrenaline for them is something that you can build on as an offense, and those running backs build on it for their momentum. But all that being said, these guys, this game, we've done it before where we've played all 4 of them, and it didn't seem to really click very well. But this game, it didn't seem it mattered who was in the ball game. They were all finding big chunk yardage plays throughout the game.
Yeah, Jace McClellan's longest run, 18 yards. Jordell Williams, 35 yards, 19-yard run for Jamarian Miller. And then Justice Haynes at 10 yards for his 10-yard carry for his 11 yards that he had on just 2 carries in this ball game. So again, a good sign for the Crimson Tide moving forward, able to run the football this past week against Arkansas. If you'd like to join us on Crimson Tide Rewind tonight, just give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline at 877-202-BAMA. Before we go to break, I wanted to tell you about Dos Equis. Dos Equis wants you to experience this season with a real one. So head to DosEquisSweeps.com to enter for a chance to win tickets, hospitality passes, and pregame sideline passes for 2 to the Alabama-LSU game on November 4th. Raise one with a real one. Dos Equis, proud partner of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Please enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. We'll be back with more. Again, to join us, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline, 877-202-BAMA. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
McLaughlin getting set to snap it back. Here now Milroe loads up again, looks to the right sideline, and it is caught and coming down is Jermaine Burton, who managed to get position on the defensive back, Jaden Johnson, and he just hangs on for a 43-yard pickup.
Again, if you'd like to join us on Crimson Tide Rewind tonight, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline at 877-202-BAMA. Our next question is brought to you by Alabama 811. To help prevent injuries, outages, and loss of life, call 811 or visit al811.com. Before you dig, it is free, it is simple, and it's the law. Cory Reamer, 2 games in a row when the defense had to get a stop near the end of the game. They got it.
Yeah, that's not exactly how we want to finish games, is where we got to rely on the defense to get a stop, to get us out of there. But they stood up to the task. I mean, we had opportunities throughout this game, and the defense statistically played extremely well. Gave up 250 yards of total offense. Held them for 4 of 14 opportunities on third down conversions. They played really, really well, and there was some times in that game, a penalty on Jalen Key right there in the third quarter, I believe it was, a face mask penalty when we got a stop on third down, about to force him to punt. You could kind of tell Arkansas was just trying to run the ball and punt it and move on. You didn't think they had much fight left in them. They get that penalty and they turn around and go down and drive down and score. And then that really flipped the momentum of that game. But when it mattered the most, after they convert the 2-point conversion, they come up with some big stops late in that ball game to finish them off and get the win.
Certainly was good to see for, again, this defense that allowed those 15 points in the second half, but otherwise, again, a very strong performance. Once again, the defensive line is able to get to the quarterback. We saw Alabama with 4 sacks in this game.
Yeah, it was good to see. That defensive line was all over KJ Jefferson. Unfortunately, and we talked about it last week, KJ Jefferson is a big old man, and he is strong, and he is able to shed off some blockers. He's able to get guys. If you're trying to tackle him with just one guy, it's not going to work. And Terrion Arnold learned that the tough way. And a host of defenders really learned that the tough way. He's able to make a lot of plays with his feet. Somehow he's finding guys open downfield. It's unbelievable what he's able to do. But this interior defensive line unit, Tim Keenan, Keenan Smith, and all those guys up front, along with Braswell and Dallas Turner, those guys were putting pressure on him all day long, not letting him have a lot of time to see down the field and make a lot of big plays. And then, I think the only drives that didn't end in a 3-and-out were the scoring drives for that game for the most part, I believe. So a lot of credit to this defense, especially that front, shutting down this Arkansas offense, who's had a lot of success against a lot of other opponents that we've seen so far up into this season. So you got to give those guys a lot of credit. They're building a lot. That front 7 right now is playing extremely well, especially those interior defensive linemen are really, really continuing to play well. The second week in a row that they've been making a huge impact on each game.
Coach Saban always talks about the importance of special teams and especially getting new opportunities for a lot of players. Quandarius Robinson, we talk about him a lot, getting tackles on punt returns, kick returns, things like that. He gets an opportunity to play a lot more in this past game, and he ends up getting 6 tackles. He was all over the field.
Yeah, he was, and it was a guy that kind of had lost, wasn't getting a lot of snaps. You'd seen his number of snaps kind of decrease as the season goes on, and they find an opportunity. We saw the cheetah package last year that Dallas Turner was a part of, and Braswell was a part of as well, with Will Anderson. God, it's amazing how fast time flies. Can't even remember Will Anderson's name, number 1, first round pick. But you get to see Q Robinson go out there. He's a part of that cheetah package. Put those guys out there, and those guys, he's all over the field, and he knows that he's seen his play count decrease over the last few weeks, and now he gets in there and he gets to go make the most of his opportunity. And that's what Coach Saban always talks about. It's like, hey man, you never know when your time's going to come, and if you can prove to us that you can be trusted to go out there and play the way that we want you to play, your play count's going to only increase, and this was a perfect game for him to get an opportunity. He's going to be a guy. It's almost, if you look read the tea leaves a little bit, you look at who we're about to start playing for the rest of this season. We got quarterbacks that can really run the football, move, and make a lot of plays with their feet. Starting this weekend with Tennessee, you got LSU coming down the road. This is probably a little preparation to get that package ready to go and see what we've got with all 3 of those guys on the field for the quarterbacks that we're going to be facing, because those guys are a lot of the Tennessee and the LSU offense that we're about to be facing that make a lot of plays with their feet. So good to see him out there and making plays. Not too, he doesn't have, he's not too big of a head to go out there and make plays on special teams, which it's always hard to do when you're accustomed to be a big time player or a starter, and you got to go out there on special teams. A lot of guys don't try to give the same effort. It's a little bit tougher for them to get involved with it, but you got to give kudos to him. He's making the most of his opportunities.
Certainly is a huge huge part of Alabama's 24-21 win against the Arkansas Razorbacks this past Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. You know, PNC Bank is pleased to be back this season with the PNC Achievers. All throughout the collegiate year, PNC Bank will salute both academic and athletic excellence through its proud partnership with the Crimson Tide. Again, we're talking about the Arkansas win. We're looking ahead to Saturday as well against Tennessee. And if you'd like to join us, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline at 877-202-BAMA. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Bama leads 14-6. Green is in at running back. He'll line up to the right side of his quarterback. Wideouts either way. Jefferson looks left, looks right, looks down because he is covered up by crimson and white. Great job by the Bama defense. That was Jamarian Latham who led the attack for the second sack of the day for Alabama.
Eli Gold on the call for one of the plays that helped seal Alabama's win against Arkansas, 24-21, a homecoming victory for the Tide. If you'd like to join us tonight on the show, you can also submit your question to us on the Alabama Media Group Twitter line at UA_CTSN. That's again brought to you by AL.com, your source for SEC sports. The Crimson Tide now getting set for week number 8 of the season. Already it's here, and Alabama, again, playing 8 games in a row. The opponent for this week, Tennessee, this will only be their second game in a row after a bye week. How tough is it to play 8 straight weeks?
Yeah, it could go both ways. Sometimes you need a break, and you got some injuries that you're fighting. You're trying to get some guys healthy. It's been a long season. They've had some physical games, and then other times it's hard to take a break just because it's hard to get geared back up and start going again. And it feels like this team is in a good spot to continue to play this week. They've had Arkansas last week, Texas A&M. They've had a long stretch of games here, and I'm sure they're excited about an opportunity to get a break. But it seems like they're primed for one more game before they have to turn around and take this off week. Sometimes you can just tell. You're watching them on the field. You can just tell they're a little bit lethargic. They're not moving as fast. Their attention to detail is not as good. But this team seems to still be plenty focused and have plenty of energy. I think it's a lot. It's attributable to the depth that we've got at a few different positions. We've been able to keep some guys fresh. We do have some injuries that we hopefully will see some guys out there this weekend. Malachi Moore being the one that comes top of the mind. He's a guy that is just a leader of that secondary, and we did a great job of playing a lot of different guys at different positions last week, but hopefully he's able to make it back for this Tennessee game. And you saw Tennessee take advantage of their bye week. They had Texas A&M at home after losing to us the week before, and they took care of business in a pretty tough game. So I think both teams are coming off of some pretty hard-fought wins, and it's going to be interesting to see how everything shakes out on Saturday. But you can't look forward as a player. You talk about looking forward to different opponents. You can't look forward to that off week. You start thinking about it a little bit too much. You're excited, but I don't think this team is in that position. We've seen it in the past where teams you could just tell they're tired and they're just ready to get a break, and they're just beaten up from some physical games, and we're just not there yet. So hopefully we'll be able to show up and play a clean, consistent, solid game across the board before we have next week off.
Yeah, you mentioned the injuries. Malachi Moore, coming back from an ankle injury, was able to go through pregame warmups, did not play ultimately, so hopefully that's a good sign for what he can do coming up this week. And then it was great to see James Burnip come back and punt effectively.
I mean, you got to give credit to. We talked about kicking game a little bit a minute ago, and Arkansas has an effective kicking game. Those guys are some studs. That field goal kicker gives Will Riker to run for his money. Good to see James Burnip back. He's definitely a game changer for this Alabama team in the way that he can flip the field. And you got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done in this offseason. He is a completely different player than what he was a year ago. I don't know what he's averaging on the year for distance-wise, but wherever we're positioned on the field, he finds a way to really pin guys deep. We get a lot of balls that are stopped before the goal line, making the opposing offenses play backed up, or he can flip a field position pretty quickly. So good to see him back. We said it on Monday, or we talked about a pregame, I think, about Malachi Moore only really starting to get some reps in practice maybe Wednesday of last week, and that's just tough. When you miss the install days of Monday and Tuesday when the pads are on, you got to go full speed. It's difficult for you to be expected to play for an entire game, and so good to see that he was able to go through warm-ups, and hopefully he's ready to go for this week against Tennessee.
And then speaking of the kicking game, how about a roll tide to Will Reichard, now the all-time scoring leader in the SEC.
How about that? That's impressive, man. I don't know how many years he's been in Alabama, but I hope he's got another year of eligibility, because there's, before him, we had some years where it was questionable. We always didn't have this kind of faith in our kicking game going out there to make some field goals. But it seems like he's been there for forever. I don't know what all quarterbacks were there when he played, but I feel like he played with Tua, Bryce, Mac Jones. I mean, Jalen Hurts.
2019 was his first year.
I mean, it's unbelievable how long but he's been effective ever since he stepped on campus for us. And he's definitely going to be missed. Glad he came back for this senior year. Had an opportunity to probably go in the draft and probably do pretty well in the draft, but glad he stuck around, came back for his senior year. He's been a huge part of this offense, and kudos to him. That's a pretty big mark to be the all-time leading scorer in SEC history.
And there's still a lot of football to be played this season. He's only 44 points away from being the all-time college football points leader.
I hope that he's only going to be kicking extra points. I hope he can't widen the gap too much. I hope it's all extra points, and he's going to have to do it 1 point at a time to really widen the gap between him and second place. But you kind of take it for granted when you trot a guy out there. Especially, we saw this weekend in other games, Oregon and Washington is one that you roll a kicker out there that should be a pretty easy field goal for most guys. You put Will Reichard out there for 45, 50 yarders. You just kind of, go fix your glass of tea. You know he's going to make it, and you get ready for the next drive. And, not everybody has that luxury. It's a huge deal for Alabama for us to be able to have him.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Will Reichard, and a huge congratulations to Baumhower's Victory Grille, who's recently been ranked #1. They lead the way for best wings in Alabama. Baumhower's has been serving up its famous wings for over 40 years, so no wonder they are the best in Alabama. Congratulations to Bob Baumhower and his entire team. Baumhower's legendary fun, legendary food. We'll continue talking about Crimson Tide football when Crimson Tide Rewind returns. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Now from the 30-yard line, empty backfield as Jan Miller vacates. 4:47 to go in the half. Milroe looks, has a man open. Touchdown, Alabama. Amari Nyblack, the tight end. He was open for 29 yards. They totally lost sight of him, and Alabama adds to their lead.
Hey, if you'd like to be part of tonight's show, just submit your question to us on the Alabama Media Group Twitter line at UA_CTSN. That's brought to you by AL.com, your source for SEC sports. Again, the Crimson Tide, a perfect 4-0 in SEC play in the SEC East. Also, Georgia is off to a perfect start there, so they're kind of in the driver's seat of the East. But some concerning news for the Bulldogs. Brock Bowers could be lost for some time. Probably not the entire season, but definitely in the next few weeks. It's going to get a little more interesting for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we've seen some players, I think it's, was it Tua that had the tightrope surgery back in the day? And it's an amazing surgery that they can get some guys that recover from a high ankle sprain pretty quickly, a lot faster than normal, and it usually comes back stronger. That's an injury that's just a nagging injury. It takes forever for a high ankle sprain, but now with this procedure, they're able to really expedite the recovery process and get guys back a lot faster. You're starting to see it all over NFL, college football. That's becoming a commonplace procedure. Tough loss for Georgia, though, because you saw they probably lose that game against Auburn without Brock Bowers. And he's Lad McConkey is is another receiver that had injuries early on in the season. Stop laughing, Todd. I can't pronounce his name. Bring him back, and then you get Brock Bowers goes down. It's like this Georgia team is still, they're not the same Georgia team that we've seen for the last couple of years, but Brock Bowers became Carson Beck's #1 target. I mean, they are really starting to gel for that offense and becoming pretty effective, and so that's a huge loss for them. But the East is, Georgia's still in control of the East. We're undefeated in conference play in the West. We've got, some pretty tough games that are still coming up. And starting with this week, obviously it's a cross-division game against Tennessee. But LSU, they're a team that you can't figure them out. They probably got one of the best offenses in the conference. And surprisingly, their defenses just can't stop anybody. But they did look strong this past weekend against Auburn, really shutting them down. But Alabama's still got a lot to play for. Maybe it's not the way that we like to see Alabama play football in terms of dominating from start to finish on both sides of the ball and really lighting up scoreboards. But they're still winning ball games. And you look across college football, it doesn't seem like there's that dominant team that's really out there right now. There are some good teams. You saw Washington looked really good against an Oregon team this past weekend. So Florida State's undefeated in the ACC. But, Alabama, if they take care of business, you never know. You just got to keep going out there and winning. Hopefully, we're just going to have to eliminate some of these mistakes. We've gotten away with a lot of them over the last few weeks and found ways to win ball games. But when you got a Tennessee and Kentucky and LSU and Auburn coming up, you just know that those mistakes will come back to bite you at some point, and you just can't continue to make those and expect to win ball games. So it's something that Coach Saban, I know, is emphasizing, that we've got to just continue to clean up and try to, like we talked about all show so far, is just play more consistently from start to finish with some tough opponents that we have left.
Well, the next opponent is Tennessee. Last year we saw Tennessee snap what had been a 15-game winning streak for the Crimson Tide in this series, a 52-49 game, crazy game that went down to the very last field goal. How much is revenge a factor for this team, or is it just the next matchup in this rivalry? Is it just the next game for this 2023 team?
Yeah, I mean, you try to, as a player, not to let revenge be a factor for you. And a lot of it more is, for the talking heads like us and for fan bases to really pay attention to. From a player's perspective, though, that was a different team. We're different. They're different. It's just another. But they are familiar with this rivalry. I mean, this is something that they're going to be very focused on. They do not want to lose this ball game. We took a lot of pride in beating Tennessee each and every single year. I remember Terry Jones, whenever we were in the locker room or the weight room getting ready for the Tennessee game, he would go around and call out players and say, "What's your record against Tennessee? What's your record against Tennessee?" And see. So it's a point of emphasis. You know what it means. You can't treat it like just any other game because it is such a big rivalry. And a lot of these players probably don't even remember how, this is a little bit different today versus what it used to be, but it still means a lot. There's, still cigars to be smoked at the end for the winner, and it's something that you want to be doing in the locker room. And the sting of being the first team to lose after having a 15-game winning streak snapped, they might have a little extra juice coming out this week. Glad we got them at home. It was a heck of a game last year against two quality teams, and it's going to be a tough one.
Certainly will be, and we'll hear Coach Saban talk about Alabama against Tennessee when we return. You're listening to Crimson Tide Rewind. It's presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, who reminds all Tide fans to stay up to date with all recommended vaccinations. Flu season is here, and COVID-19 continues to affect our community. Don't wait, vaccinate. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Again from their own 46. Jefferson gets the snap. Everybody deploys, and Jefferson is going to go down. The third sack of the day. Dallas Turner and Justin Eboigbe, and what a time for that sack right there.
You have a taste for winning? Dreamland Barbecue offers the triple threat. Dine in, carry out, and catering. Dreamland Barbecue ain't nothing like them nowhere. Proud supporter of the Crimson Tide. Well, each and every Monday at noon, you know where you can find Coach Saban. He is talking with the media, the Naylor Stone Media Room inside the Malmore Athletics facility, and he is previewing what's coming up on Saturday between Alabama and Tennessee. Here's Coach Saban from earlier today in Tuscaloosa.
This game we're playing against Tennessee, big rivalry game, means a lot to a lot of people in the state of Alabama, and I'm sure there too. It's one of the best rivalries in college football. They have a really good team. They're ranked in the 15th or whatever, and so they have a really, really good team, very explosive. Josh Heupel has done, an outstanding job there. They play with great tempo on offense, which is challenging for the defense, but their ability to run the ball and create balance has been, pretty phenomenal this year. I mean, they run it for like 230, pass it for like 210, whatever. And that kind of balance is always something that is difficult. Their defense is playing really, really good. They're in the top 3 or 4, in the SEC, ranked nationally, and negative plays, sacks, tackles for loss. and those types of things. I think Joe Milton is a really good quarterback. They got 3 really good runners who have all been very productive. They've got good skill guys outside. So this is, all around, a really, really, good team. So it's important for us, to have a great week of preparation and be able to maintain focus in practice, in meetings, and whatever we're doing to be able to carry that forward in a game and be able to sustain it in a game for 60 minutes, which is what it's going to take in a game like this.
And that was Coach Saban earlier today, again, really giving us kind of his scouting report of Tennessee. And Cory Reamer, how similar is this Vols team to what we saw a year ago? We know they've had a lot of personnel change on both sides of the ball, really, from what we saw last year in Knoxville. Yeah,
Joe Milton is a guy that's got a lot of talent. Is he the same playmaker that we saw from Hendon Hooker last year? It's still to be determined, but he still has plenty of ability to get the ball out in space and hit a lot of the deep balls, which we saw from Josh Heupel's offense. He likes to spread this offense, spread it out as much as he can. He likes to play outside the numbers, really make this defense really get out, spread out as much as they possibly can. And he's got the arm to be able to throw it wherever he wants to on the field. It's just a matter of he can be accurate in finding that guy like Hendon Hooker probably did last year a little bit better. But he's somebody that continues to impress. They only scored 20 points this past weekend against Texas A&M. Probably one of their lowest team totals that they've had since Josh Heupel got there. And I don't know what their play count was last week, but it's going to be as they're going to run tempo as fast as they can. And where Joe Milton's probably more effective than Hendon Hooker is with his feet. I mean, he's kind of built. If you look at Alabama and you look at Tennessee, how similarly we're built right now, especially at the quarterback position between the two. These two guys are big, physical runners that can make a lot of plays with their feet, have strong arms. Accuracy might not be their best attribute at this point in time. They're continuing to get better at it, but you lose a guy like Brew McCoy for Tennessee, one of their top pass catchers, and a guy that's really a game changer, unfortunately probably out for the season. That hurts them a little bit, but they've got plenty of playmakers all over the field, and they're finding ways to win ball games kind of like we are right now. If they didn't lose that ball game against Florida, I believe it was earlier in the season, they'd really be that Georgia-Tennessee game coming up in a few weeks would really have a lot on the line for it. And I think they're going to give Georgia a pretty good run for their money. They're a physical team, and their defense is something that they take pride in, holding Texas A&M to 13 points this past weekend. They got a defensive front that is going to continue to put a lot of pressure on this Alabama offensive line. These guys better be ready to play because they got some athletes that are really going to try to get after Jalen Milroe.
On Saturday, it's Alabama against Tennessee at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And keep this in mind when you're coming to Bryant-Denny this weekend. You can stay cool with a free non-alcoholic drink of your choice when you purchase a limited edition Alabama Yeti. These vintage Yeti cups are only available at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Elevate your game day with Yeti. You're listening to Crimson Tide Rewind live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Here now, McClellan goes in motion. Milroe stands in. Milroe rolls right. He's got running room. He's got the first down. And he goes out of bounds at the 46-yard line. Good job by Milroe.
Hey, Bama fans, T-Mobile, the official wireless provider of your Crimson Tide, wants to keep you connected to your favorite teams and players. Stop by the Patriot Center T-Mobile store on Highway 69 South on Monday, October 23rd. That's next Monday between 5:30 and 7 p.m., where you can meet current football players and also win great prizes, including game tickets, a branded Yeti cooler, signed merchandise, and more. You won't want to miss that coming up next Monday. Roll Tide. As we get set for Alabama against Tennessee, let's take a look at that prescription for success. It's presented by Payless Drugs. Payless Drugs is your locally owned family pharmacy with 4 locations in Birmingham. Payless can handle your prescriptions, over-the-counter solutions, and home delivery. Payless at mynewpharmacy.com. Cory Reamer, what is that prescription for success against the Vols?
There's a number of different things that we can cover in this segment, but I think the biggest thing is what Tennessee's defensive line is going to bring after this offensive unit that continues to improve. And Coach Saban talked about it in his post-game or in his press conference today about maybe shifting some guys around, trying to find the right combination of offensive line. But Proctor and Pritchett are two guys that have been out there. You've seen a lot of them alternating snaps, trying to figure out who the guy that's going to be. It might be just be a left tackle by committee. I mean, we usually don't see that. This is a group that you want to see playing a lot of snaps together, trying to find a way for them to gel. You got to help these guys out on the left side. And not only maybe chipping some guys, having some running backs involved. Communication continues to be a point of emphasis for who we're picking up in the blitz packages. Maybe keep some tight ends in to try to help out these left tackles, but missed assignments is one thing. That's one thing they can help themselves out. You just see when you're watching this game, they're missing, they're busting a few assignments here and there, and it's giving them, kind of shooting themselves in the foot. But we really need to have some strong play from this left tackle position and up front all together, and just continue to do what we're doing on defense. This defense is really playing strong. We need them to continue this momentum. And Jalen Milroe is going to have to continue to protect the football. We look back these last couple games, he doesn't turn it over, and we win by, less than one possession. If he turns it over in either one of those games, you might lose that ball game. So hopefully he's able to continue to do that. That's going to be the key.
Protecting the quarterback really is key. We don't want to come here next week and see five sacks like the highlighter crew provided us with tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we're ranked 130th at 136 in sacks given up this season. That's not a place that Alabama's comfortable with or that you want to find yourselves across the board. So 5 more sacks this past weekend. And Landon Jackson for Arkansas just had an absolute day. He was all over the place. I think he's a freshman, already has a captain's C on his chest, and he is a playmaker, and he showed it on Saturday. He was really wreaking havoc for this offensive line across the front. So we're gonna have to get our stuff together this Saturday, and we gotta find a way to eliminate penalties and sacks. If we can do that, I think this team's got a really good shot at winning some ball games.
It's Alabama against Tennessee coming up on Saturday. We'll be back with one final segment coming up in a moment as you listen to Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, who reminds all Bama fans, don't wait, vaccinate. For more information, visit alabamapublichealth.gov/IMN. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. What's on tap next for Bama is brought to you by Yellowhammer Brewing. Hit your stride with a refreshing Yellowhammer beer now at Bryant-Denny Stadium and stores near you. Of course, next up is the 3rd Saturday in October at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Our radio coverage will start at 11:30 on Saturday. Kickoff at 2:30. Bama against the Vols, presented by Coca-Cola. The rivalry renewed. Alabama has not lost to Tennessee at home since 2003. Let's keep that streak going.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a game. By the way, you didn't ask me what my record was for Tennessee. 4-1, by the way.
Pretty good.
4-1. I'll take 4-1. Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to see us lose last year, but it did take my name off of the last loss that we had against Tennessee. So looking forward to it. Roll Tide, Roger.
We'll be talking about it next Monday as well as our pre- and post-game coverage. If you missed any portion of tonight's show, catch it on demand on the Alabama Insider Podcast. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That does it for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills. Brian Bexton, Jerry Kelly back at our Learfield studios, engineer Todd Robbins, the highlighter crew, Cory Reamer, and Roger Hoover saying thanks for listening. Roll Tide.
You've been listening to Crimson